All right, hello and welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started. For everyone here in Schaumburg, welcome. All of the presentations in this room and this meeting are also part of the NNP Symposium this year, meaning it's being live streamed to viewers online as well. So for everyone on Zoom, welcome back. We will be doing our best to include you in the meeting as much as we can. Bear with us, we're experimenting a little bit with how the audio is working. So we're gonna see how it goes. So I will step aside and let Len take over. I'll be back in a few minutes to let you know how we're working some things.
All right, welcome to Central States. It's good to be here. Now, we didn't get off to the best start here. I'm sure you all noticed that the cover of the program is a counterfeit coin.
Yeah.
So if you're on the message boards, people just post stuff like this all the time, and you know this is supposedly an 1846 seated dollar, but the date style's really wrong. Yeah, probably 46 CC. I bet it is. All right. So, but anyway, I think, but I want to give props to Central State. I think they've really knocked it out of the park on the show here, and the Bourse floor is huge and well populated, and they've got everything set up here to have a great show. The Central States. This is actually kind of the beginning of our regional program. In the 80s and 90s, John McCloskey got to the point where he'd do only 2 shows a year. He'd do the ANA, do Central States, because it was close to him in Ohio. So, you know, we always had a program at Central States. So we're glad to continue that tradition. One other thing I want to take note of, one of our members, Daryl Lowe, recently had a portrait medal struck. Can you do a close up? We have an example here. As far as I know, this is the first LSCC member to have a portrait medal. But he's president of the New York Numismatic Club, and they have a tradition of making portrait medals for their president. So Daryl told me he was getting a gold medal, and I'm like, well, I'm president of the LSCC. Where's my gold medal? So, but that's probably not going to happen. But we do have an example of Daryl's medal here, and we have an example of the gold one too, if you want to see that afterwards. So that's fun. Okay, we're going to do group introductions. So if you don't want to be on camera, this is a good chance to duck out now. You can come up here or just step outside the room. But we will start on my left side here.
Let me hop on for just a second.
Okay, all right.
If you are on Zoom, you are also welcome to introduce yourself. Just go to the Q&A button at the bottom, type in a quick introduction with who you are, where you're from, and what you collect, and then we'll read them off at the end. And we're doing our best with the audio in the room. Hope you can hear everyone. If you can't, we'll be back up here for most of the meeting, so stay tuned.
All right, so you want to start over here on this side? You don't have to stand up.
My name is Michael Hope from Highland Park, Illinois. I collect seeded cores.
Jim Carey, West Liberty, Iowa. I'm a halftime guy, and I like cuts.
Okay.
I'm Wasserman from Puerto Rico, Student Liberty. Bruce.
Scott Creek, Crystal Lake, Illinois, seeded dimes and seeded half dollars, as well as some bust material.
Tony Alberts from the Slains. I have seeded dime varieties.
I'm Chris Sutter from St. Louis, and while I don't really collect seeded coins at all, I do enjoy the magazine and attending the meetings.
I'm Bill Beerley. I collect mostly seeded pattern coins, and that kind of wrote a book. I had a lot of help from folks here, so and but that's my perspective.
Jim Taylor, Wheeling, Illinois, and I collect type.
Bill Pletty, Janesville, Wisconsin, seeded halves and some dollars. The eyes can't see the smaller ones anymore.
Jeff Pritchard from Seattle and collect seeded quarters.
Bert Johnson, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, seated quarters.
Alexander Ash, Columbus, Ohio, also elected to seat quarters.
Tom Harrison, down by Peoria, Illinois. I collect numismatic literature.
Richard Berry, Janesville, Minnesota, seated quarters, $1,000.
Tim Jewison, Sunset Coins, shop is in Faribault, Minnesota, and I collect all seeded coins and as well as all US and Canadian.
Okay, my name's Ken Otto. I'm Houston, Texas. Seated stuff, I collect quarters and halves primarily, and then broadly US coins.
Bob Hamby, Knoxville, Tennessee, seeded dollars primarily.
John Lunston, Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm the treasurer of the club and I collect all seated quarters.
All right, we're going to gather in front of the room for a group photo. So for the folks at home, this may be a little bit discombobulated for a couple minutes, but we will get back to the program. Oh.
Okay, and we don't have any intros in the Q&A, so if you did want to do that, last chance is while we're doing the group photo. Otherwise, we'll be back in a minute.
Good to see you too. When you forgot to say,
Yeah, I can take that. Okay, why is this a square?
Might want to stand up on a chair. I don't know if that'll help or not.
There we go. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Gonna take a few for good measure. Lovely. Okay.
There we go. All right. Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
Seeded quarters, that's an understatement.
All right. So can we get into the
Yeah, let me open this up.
all right. Go ahead and share the slide deck.
It's already shared. You're good. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Just stay within the table.
Okay. All right, let's get going here. All right, we've got a few things to run through in terms of club news. Dennis Fortier unfortunately had some car trouble, won't be here, but we will carry on. Dues renewal, as always, you can pay at the club table downstairs, 116. Actually, it's upstairs, right? I think over there, and okay, 116. And we do have a membership list there, so we can tell if you're current or not. And there are some copies of the current journal available too. All right, couple club updates. Sergio Torres is joining us as advertising manager, which is a lot harder than it sounds because you got to coordinate between the publishing team and all the advertisers. So lots of back and forth there. Second thing, we will have an open house event at the ANA in Pittsburgh on August 11th. It'll be 3 p.m. on Friday, which I think is fairly open time for everyone. So we'll have a special open house event there. We'll have some giveaways. Heritage is kindly catering the event for us, so we appreciate that. And hope to see you there, as well as the regular club meeting, which will be on Thursday. And then finally, we've gotten the treasury correctly aligned here. So there's money markets are paying a lot higher interest rates than checking accounts. So we've gotten that cleaned up, and we're generating about $1,200 a year in interest, or it's a good number. So yeah. Okay, so on the subject of 50th anniversary, Again, this will be Friday afternoon in Pittsburgh. We have some special 50th anniversary shirts, which are available at the club table. We'll probably put out a special related publication for that event. And then we'll have some giveaways. We've got some white metal tokens and some sample journals that'll be available at that event. So I'm not sure how we're going to do it. You'll probably have a raffle, or it'll be fun. Okay, Greg Johnson is going to give us a brief update on publications.
Okay, thanks. So hopefully everybody has this journal by now. If you don't, there is a sample at the club table and you can check it out. Also, let us know if you didn't receive it. So I'm not going to give you a dramatic reading of the slide. That's a summary of what we have in there. Hopefully, like I said, everybody has seen that, and a lot of good stuff in there. So the thing I did want to say about the Go Journal is we're already hard at work on the summer edition. It's going to come out, and that is really focused on the 50th anniversary. So the hope is that, those of you that have been with the club, particularly in the 70s and 80s, can write up some stuff for us. And we do have some already that we're working on with some of the older members. But looking forward to producing something that focuses on the history of the club a little more than what we usually put out. And then I would also be remiss not to mention the cover. As you see, Jim Mako or John Frost have worked diligently on a new layout that, have to give them credit. I find it really sharp. I hope you do too. Anything else I should mention while I'm up here? Thank you.
So just FYI, the Gilbert Journal production is a team effort. Greg takes all the articles and does initial triage and editing, make sure the content is accurate. And then John Frost has been doing the production work. Sergio Torres is also going to start helping out with the production work in terms of graphics and layout for the summer issue. And we'll go from there. All right, address changes. The journals are sent with pre-sorted mail. It's not first class, which saves us a ton of money. But the drawback is they generally don't forward these to new addresses. So please be proactive in terms of letting us know if you're moving. All right, so as noted, Greg Johnson has been our editor for the last 3 issues, and John Frost has been doing the layout work. Of course, he also does that for BCCS, so he's got a lot on his plate, and we're hoping to offload John a little bit, and Sergio's volunteered to help out with the July issue, and hopefully can continue that going forward. All right, we do have a monthly publication, the eGobrecht, goes out to our email list. So if you're not on that, please let us know your email address. We'll get you added. That's got a lot of current club news, regional news. I have a column in there. Dennis has a column in there. So it's it just keeps you updated on a monthly basis. All right, the ANA Summer Seminar is coming up in Colorado Springs. We do need a few more registrants to officially offer this class, but we're tentatively planning to offer a class on Liberty seated coinage. Myself, Craig Everhart, and John Frost will be co-instructing. And this is the summer seminar is really one of the best things that the ANA does. It's logistically, they have a great setup to pull off the event, and it's kind of like going to a coin show for 4 days, except not so much buying and selling. So it's a lot of fun. And then within the class itself, we go through all the denominations. We talk about grading. Everyone brings coins, and we all look at each other's coins, which is a lot of fun. We talk about some of the historical background of seated coinage. And we conclude with guested denomination on the last day of the class, which is not as easy as it sounds. So, but it's a good time. We have a lot of fun. And John Frost, also in between, just prior to session 2, he'll be offering what they call mini seminars on pattern coins and air coins. So John will be a busy guy that week. All right, and we do have some upcoming regional events in Norwich, Connecticut, and Gallatin in May. And then we're in Raleigh in June, and I think we'll have a meeting in Baltimore, still TBD, but we'll let everyone know. And then, of course, in Pittsburgh, we'll have a lot of things going on. So that'll be a great show. All right, do have polo shirts downstairs. So if you're interested, please stop at the club table and we'll get you taken care of. All right, so let's move on to our educational program. I'm going to be speaking on this idea of buy the best you can afford. So let's jump in here. All right, a lot of numismatic advice out there. It's always good to consider where it's coming from. So who said it may be more important than what they actually said. So we've all heard of buy the book before the coin, made up by a book dealer. So it's not surprising. Buy the rare dates first. We've all heard that for a long time. I'm not really sure who made that up, but we looked at this carefully in the Goldbright Journal a couple of years ago, and that turns out to be pretty good advice. Next one, buy the best you can afford. This probably came from a coin dealer as well. We'll look at that in a minute. And then one more recent one, sometimes the best coin in your collection is the one you didn't buy. This comes from our good friends over at Legend Numismatics. And basically the idea is, you know, let us help you build your collection and you'll make less mistakes. So essentially they're selling you on the idea of auction representation, which for many collectors is the best way to go. But again, you know, it's a dealer in some way promoting their business. All right, so buy the best you can afford. The earliest mention of this I can find is from 1979 from Dave Bowers, a coin dealer. I did find something a little bit earlier, buy the highest grade you can afford. But in any case, we're going to go through the liberty seated denominations and take a look at this idea for the different denominations and see how it stands up. So what I've used as pricing reference is the guidebook from 1960 to 2020. All the usual caveats with pricing. So one thing we've seen in recent years is you can have you know 5 coins at EF 40 and have a whole different range of prices for those coins. We've seen a lot of emphasis on attractive toning. We've all, which is in the Morgan dollar is really exaggerated. 81S in 65, you could have a white one and then a really nice colored one that costs like 10 times as much. So a really big spread. We're seeing price differences with CAC stickers as well. So you have an EF 40 seeded coin versus an EF 40 patent coin. They're going to sell it at different levels for almost all issues in the series. So, what the guidebook really presents itself as is this is the price, this is the retail price for an average example for the grade. But even with that, there's still a publishing lag. So you buy a 2019 guidebook, the pricing for that was probably done, early in 2018. So you've got a lag there. And, you look at the pandemic, for example, and we saw a really big increase, even like in 12 months in the market. So your guidebook's even more out of date. So to me, the gold standard for current prices as the auction prices. So that's really what I go off of, I think is the best guide. But all that said, the guidebook has been reporting the market since 1946. So I think it's a good general guide and does reveal trends over time. Even considering the caveats for pricing in the current market. Okay, so we're going to jump in with half dimes. And what we've done is we've assigned a value of 1.0 for the price in the 1960 edition. And then the subsequent prices are multiples over the 1960 price. So 1846 diamond good, value of 1 in 1960, and is multiplied 34 times as of the 2020 guidebook. Okay, so let's jump into the dates here. So for the 1846, clearly the data shows the UNC one is the best, has the best return. The issue with this is there's no UNCs. There's been 4 certification events of uncirculated 46 half dimes, probably 1 or 2 coins that those represent. So buy the best you can afford may be good advice, but it may not be practical advice. Coin's not available. It's not really practical. Moving on to the 1866, we have an inverse effect. We're seeing a lot of appreciation for the good price and not so much for the young price. So this is an interesting coin. A lot of this coinage in the 1860s didn't circulate because it was all being imported. So as a result, your surviving populations tend to have a lot more higher graded examples. So there's a fair number of 1866 UNC half dimes out there. And they're going to be priced up in an UNC level, but because there's a good supply, we haven't seen as much appreciation on them. The example in good now comes under pressure from people who are building date and mint mark sets. And they don't necessarily collect the whole series at the UNC level, but they still need to fill that hole in their collection. So there's a much larger pool of buyers looking for that example of good than for one in UNC. So and this is a very common theme in the seeded series, and we'll see this going through that, is that you get a lot of pressure on these bottom grades because everyone knows that's kind of the big one in their collection they have to fill, and they're willing to pay maybe a little bit more just to get the entry coin. And that's really a product of the date and mint mark collecting that's been promoted by certainly LSCC and other things in the market. So finally, looking at the 1871, we've seen pretty much about the same or close to the same appreciation in all grades. This is a common coin. And what's clear from this chart is that the rare dates have done better. So, and that's reinforcing something we've already seen.
Len?
Yeah.
One thing you might want to clarify is that, like the 2020 date for the 1846 UNC, that's 115.7 times the value of whatever it was deemed to be in 1960.
Right.
Yeah. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
That's not the real value now.
Right.
I buy those all day.
Yeah, these are all multipliers that you're going to see on the charts. So.
Question I have
Yeah.
again is the latest Goldberg journal that we received, there was pictures and highlights of half dimes. But I didn't see any 1841 listing their pictures in them. And I thought, well, why is that?
Does that ring a bell, Greg? The last journal?
No. I'll look into that.
Yeah,
I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I happen to have one in a nice original certified 8058. Well, why wasn't that in?
Okay. You can always send in images to us. We're happy to publish them. So.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Something I thought, well, that was interesting. I mean, why wasn't that included? But
yeah, and I don't know who wrote the article that you're referring to? So, okay. All right, all right, moving on to dimes. So 45O which has seen insane appreciation in the young grades. Again, there's only a couple unk pieces. There's a 62 and then there's a 69 way out in the stratosphere. So if you could have purchased one of those, that would be great, but that's only 2 people. So telling people buy the best you can afford when only 2 people can get the best isn't maybe optimal advice. For the 54, we've seen better appreciation in the higher grade. I think part of that is because that's type coin and a fairly affordable type coin, so why not get an unk one? And then the 74cc, again, what we're really seeing is the chart is saying, you know, buy the rare dates first, because we're seeing, you know, really nice appreciation on this date. And the good and fine examples have appreciated about the same. I think, you know, for people who are doing a dime set, you know, that's going to be a tough coin. You're willing to settle for a lower grade. So those have done well. And there are a few unks out there. And in that case, buy the best you can afford has been a good idea. All right, moving on to 20-cent pieces. This is just an oddball series. These are purchased as type coins. Obviously, the key to the series is the 76cc unk, which interestingly is seen about the same price appreciation across the whole series. So people are not necessarily interested in specific dates in the series. They're you know, looking at these as type coins, so we don't really see that distinction. There's less going on with this series than some of the other seeded ones. You know, in general, it's about a 15 to 20 times multiplier across the whole series since 1960. All right, moving on to quarters. We're a little cheated here because in 1960, the guidebook didn't price these pieces in good. So we're being cheated out of that appreciation between 1960 and 1970. So the numbers in 2020 should be considerably higher. And Dennis Fortier made it. So welcome, Dennis.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a story to tell, which
Not good.
okay, we're going to hear later. Okay. All right. So again, what we're seeing with the 51O and the 70cc is that the appreciation is better than for the common date. You know, that again reinforces what we've already seen. And within the 51O and 70cc specifically, we have seen better appreciation. Actually, for all 3 of these coins, we're seeing better appreciation at higher grades. So for quarters, this works out. The 70cc in unk is probably somewhere around a 300 times multiplier. The last transaction was private, but you know, just looking at the whole market, we can look at the one unk that's out there and put a price on it. I think pretty easily between 500 and $1 million. So, but I don't know what it sold for in the last sale. Okay. All right. Moving on to half dollars. Buy the best you can afford holds up here, but things fall apart when we get to the 78S. And this is a little bit like the 1866 half dime. There's only 52 coins. And one was just reported recently discovered. So the number has gone up from 51 to 52. But for half dollar collectors, you just want to get a 78S, and the unks pretty much out of everyone's budget. So you're happy to just get a lower grade coin. So the appreciation for the lower grade coins has actually been greater than for the unks. And it's not like there's a ton of unks out there. There's you know, about the 52 coins, about 12 are unk. But for this coin, it's just all about getting into the coin. And people are willing to pay, you know, a little premium to do that. So this one's done better in the lower grades. All right. Moving on to seated dollars. The 59.0, this is interesting. It's gotten the highest appreciation in UNC, even with the treasury releases in the early 60s. So, which added just a ton of uncirculated pieces into the market. And I think that's kind of an example of, if you build it, they will come. Coins can actually get more popular if there's more pieces out there. And the prices can go up too, because now they have a chance to be popular, they have a chance for, a greater traction or mind share or groundswell of collectors to take interest in these coins. So, a 59.0 seated dollar, it's a big coin, it's lustrous, it's just a great type coin. So even though there's at least 1,000 pieces that came out of the treasury board, it's done very well at the UNC level. 63, again, this was not priced in the 1960 guidebook, so our appreciation very good is probably more up in the the 40 range than the 21 that's reported here. And this coin's done well in all grades, but in the highest grades it's done better, so good advice there. And then same thing for the 73cc in UNC. Buying the best you can get is definitely the way to go here. All right. Moving on to trade dollars. Again, this is it's not as much of an oddball series as the 20-cent piece, but we haven't seen as much appreciation in this series. And where the appreciation's really been is in these mainstream dimes, quarters, half dollars. Very popular. Rare dates have done super well. And then with trade dollars and the 20-cent pieces, we see the multipliers overall not as high. So it's 74S, very common issue. It's done the best in uncirculated. 74cc is a better date. Again, done better in the uncirculated. And the key date in the series has done quite well in the higher grades as well too. So so a lot of things going on that go into these charts. But I think kind of the one theme I really take out of it is the rarity. And I think people collecting seeded coins are a lot more into rarity than people collecting in other segments of the market. It seems to drive our prices a bit more. With the very high grade coins, we can argue about what's a 65 and a 66. But I think what's more compelling to us about these coins is the rarity in the history. And you don't see that as much in some of the modern series. Okay, so summarizing, so for our mainstream pieces, dimes, quarters, half dollars, seated dollars, if that's what you're doing, buy the best you can afford is generally good advice. So and then for these other series, not as much. So that's kind of my take on it. I think the better advice is buy the hard dates first. The data is very strongly supports that idea. Buy the best you can afford, not as strongly. So I'll have an article on this with some additional thoughts in our July issue. So I wanted to share some of these preliminary findings with everyone today. So open it up for any questions or any questions online. Questions, comments?
Len,
Yeah.
did you look into proofs at all? Because in the half dollar series, I've noticed a ton of proofs in the market, and it seems that the prices have shot up. I don't know if that's driving them out of into the market, or if it's the collector base that is aging out. Any comments on it?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, this study is not looked at proofs yet, so that's a good thought for additional research here. We had a one proof collector here, I believe. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm always testing the market
on buying and selling, and you know, when you get real nice coins, you can sell them for anything you want, and when they're not nice or even have a little flaw, they can sit forever. And I noticed you had a talk coming up about 79 to 90, which is what I specialize in, especially the quarters and halves.
Okay.
I've got some that are really, I mean, they're unparalleled. I get offers on with comparative all the time. But the other ones, I don't hear much about at all. And there's a couple of sold them at the show, and they're a little bit weak. I don't think they're really strong. I don't think there's ever. Tell me I want to hear from somebody else. Tell me I'm wrong, but it seems like people always want to pay a little bit less than they really should for see the Liberty points. But
That's a universal condition.
But that's just if you get the good ones. I mean, the dealers won't leave me alone when I bring one of the good ones by. They just keep bothering me for the next 10 years. So, I mean, that's what it comes down to.
I think we wish the gray sheet was more accurate and more serious. Because, you know, you look at that and the dealer wants nothing to bid, you know, it makes it tough.
I think the gray sheet is a big problem.
I think it is too.
I think there's a lot of really good coins that don't get properly valued in there, and then you have the dealers know that. So if you have good coins and you're selling them, you know you get more than gray sheet. And when you go to buy them, they'll let you know there's going to be things where those.
I mean, you have to wait till they're paying maybe 20% over and they want 100% over. You know,
For auction, my recommendation is you want to get good coins, go for the auction.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
And my sense is troops are really driven by IP, right? You can always buy troops any way you want on the floor, right? You want to buy whatever date, you know, from 1859 over to 1891. You can always buy troops anytime you want, but the ones that have the great eye appeal, those are the ones that really can escalate the price a lot higher than average looking piece.
They will, but then again, eye appeal is also very subjective, right? I mean, I don't like a lot of toning on my coins, but I have a couple that are stunningly toned and they will get up to the price, but I don't like toned coins. Ones that aren't toned have probably been worked with a little bit in some way or another. But if they're done properly, they're good. But I think eye appeal is older than the eye of the holder. I mean, I know people that look at the darkest coins in the world, they say, oh, these are fantastic, these are the ones you're gonna buy. And I don't like them.
Well, they've changed on the last 15 years with the CAM and DCAM designations also. So you're getting premiums on the DCAMs and the CAMs that you didn't get previously now. The CAMs is not that much of a premium, but DCAMs there could be a large premium. Or some dates don't really come, DCAM that often.
That's the whole notion of eye appeal. Yeah, it comes down to
That's exactly part of the game. That's right.
Yeah, I think that's really what I saw a lot of it. But I want to add one thing. The proofs are not the only really fantastic ones. Whenever I find an uncirculated coin, or even an AU-55 or above, that's got a really good and here the cartwheel. You see a cartwheel and Everest, everybody see a coin, they grab that coin in the premium. Anytime you get a full cartwheel, and that's there's just not that many of them around. Not making them anymore, as you say, but that's the ones, those are the ones, and those are not proofs.
I want to comment on your question that you mentioned that gray sheet's not accurate. But I think the observation is it can't be accurate because 2 coins can technically be the same grade. But one is so I mean you can't price. Every coin is different. They're trying to do the average, but if you get an exceptional coin, but just throw the price tag out the window and you buy it and worry about it.
That's really what they say and put that in their magazine that's what they're doing. They're just looking at the average coin. So there really isn't the way to look at the market for coins that are everybody here probably has fantastic coins they would never take gray sheet for. That's probably a very, very good point.
A lot of collectors aren't cognizant of the fact that it's the average value. It's for your generic coin that's out there for that date. And super for that date, it doesn't cover it, they can't cover it. They're not cognizant, they don't realize that.
Yeah, and I think this is where a lot of the auction prices come in. Because you can look at the auction price, hard data, you can look at the actual coin, hard data, and it gives you, a better idea what's going on. So maybe, the guidebook's $1,000, but an example sold for 1,500. Pull it up on the computer and it's like, oh, it's a really nice one. Okay, so it gives you kind of some idea, the top end for that coin. We do have about 30 people tuned in at home. I see our Egobrecht editor, Paul Kluth, is on there. Any questions from the audience online, you can enter those in your chat. And we will do our best to answer them.
Question, I
Yeah.
have two actually, two coins. 1891 old quarter. They listed at 68,000. And years back in the red book, it used to be quoted at 6,800. I think that's more accurate. Where that 68,000 is coming from, I have no clue, because where are the coins? Where are they?
Yeah, it's a tough coin. My best guess is that was simply a typo.
It's gotta be.
So, and you know, the way these numbers were developed was, you know, originally a lot of the vintage figures came from Walter Green working in the National Archives in the 1950s. And he was working with pencil and paper. Very easily, you know, you write down every minute in the whole guidebook, you're probably going to make some mistakes. So that might have been where it originated. And then at some point later, they figured out that, you know, that's what happened, and they corrected the number. Although the current number is 68,000. So whether that's really reflective of the scarcity, we'd have to do like a comparative study with some other dates.
Well, when you compare that with the era of the 1879 to 1991 quarters and half dollars, which were extremely low mintage. Also, I think too, the 1891 Liberty seated half dollar. They quote that at 20 or at 200,000 in the book. I say no, I say 20,000.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're not around.
Yeah,
You don't see
so,
them.
right. So with the low mintage figures, 79 through 90, these were saved at the time in much higher portions than the mintages indicate. I mean, you can look at contemporary coin dealer advertisements in like 1880, and they're like, I will buy all 1879 dimes for, you know, 25 cents or whatever it was. So these were recognized at the time of issue as rare. And probably half of those coins still exist. But a branchment coin like an 1891 a quarter, not so much, because people weren't collecting by mint marks. There weren't coin dealers in New Orleans. They were all in Philadelphia, New York, Boston. And they're getting these Philadelphia low mintage coins and saving them. And there's nobody in New Orleans that's, you know, putting away a roll of 1891 quarters. Just didn't happen. So the survivability of those two issues is very different, for sure.
Len,
Yeah.
an 1891 old quarter specimen proof went for $68,000. Maybe that's where they got
Is that
that
what it
figure from. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Because I was discovered two of them. He sent me one, and I didn't think it was one, so I sent it back, and it became a specimen proof.
Okay, I mean, there was about 2-3 years ago, there was an 1891 so-called proof in an annex holder running around the markets. You know, it's sold a couple times at a level not consistent with, you know, proof status, and you know, the coin had clash marks, and you know, it was a proof like business struck. I mean, it was a really nice coin, but
Well, there you go again. Most known 91 old quarters have flash marks, so that leads me to believe there weren't very many dies out there to produce as many as they're talking.
yeah,
Obvious.
yeah, Greg may know, but I think it's just one die pair, right?
3 pairs.
Oh, 3, okay. All right.
There's 3 pairs. It's certainly plausible. 60,000.
Yeah, I mean, they would run die lives up to several 100,000 examples if the dies lasted, but you know, 20,000 per die pair is not, you know, not out of range. All right, no other questions online. Feel free to enter something in the chat. Otherwise, we'll get wrapped up here. So I do have Daryl walked in after I showed his medal, but we do have an example of Daryl's New York Numismatic Club presidential medal up here. So feel free to come and look at that. I did get one question. Seeing buy the coin or buy the best trend break for smaller populations where outlier effects dominate. If you studied what is a critical mass population range for which buy the best is a more reliable approach. Yeah, that's kind of a interesting way to slice the data. I'll have to give that some thought. But yeah, that's we didn't really study that closely for this presentation. Yeah.
Maybe a suggestion, I'm not sure if it's even more Paul, but you don't know who all these people in a room, you don't have any phone numbers or emails for them. And I have a club in technology, and we always, when they come in the room, they always give their email address. That way we can get back to them, and I'd like to have kind of a connection, and there's not a connection being established here, other than this right here.
Yeah, I mean, we do have everyone who's online, we do have contact information for them. So
Online.
what's that?
I'm not online.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna try to find you. That's what I'm
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah. Being at a show like this is obviously a great opportunity to meet other people and hang out at the club table. So hopefully it'll be.
sheet, but I don't know if we consider it. Yeah, sign a sheet at all your meetings, and who they just ask if they want to give a phone number or email. And that's just my suggestion.
Okay. Yeah. All right, fair enough. We do, obviously we have contact info for everyone in the club, but not everyone here is necessarily a club member. Yes, Greg.
So an announcement, particularly with all the quarter collectors that are here in person and hopefully some more here virtually. We are going to do a quarter survey in the upcoming Building Journal. It's been 16 or 17 years, and that'll be, out to all the membership for what's in your collection by date and mint mark, and we'll do major varieties and whatever other varieties I decide I'm interested in this. It's going to follow pretty close to what they did in 2007, minus what prior editor liked to do with things he'd actually never seen, see if maybe they existed. So I'm not going to do that.
I just had a thought to create more work for you, and that's to also consider certification by PCGS, NBC, CAC.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's in the plate.
Okay, cool.
So, and to just end that discussion, if you do have suggestions about particular varieties, I was getting kind of cheap there. Any suggestions, get a hold of me at email for the
Excellent. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up. So find some great coins on the show floor. There's a lot of dealers to choose from. And we will see everyone at the next show.
Okay, and just a reminder, this is being recorded. If you would like to access the recording later to share with your friends who couldn't come, they will be uploaded on the NNP about 2 weeks from Saturday. If you would like to receive an email when those are up, we encourage you to register for the NNP Symposium. It's entirely free and takes like 2 minutes. Both of these big signs with our logo have a QR code you can scan or the URL. Otherwise, keep an eye on the NNP or the Symposium website, which is also on those signs, and you'll see when those are up. Thank you. And for everyone online, we will be back at 11:30 Central with Carrie Meyer. Thank you.
Thank you.